family. I'm gonna put the banner up. Wait for y'all to get in the room. Get in the room. Get in the room. Shadow work sessions. And it's on. Right? Y'all ready to talk about some shadow work? Tonight it's gonna probably be a little down. But it's okay. That's what shadow work is about. We're getting ready to tap in. Wait for some of y'all to get in here. Whew. I hope I got it right. I hope I sent y'all the update. Hopefully I did. I normally give it a few minutes at the beginning, and then I get started on what we'll be talking about tonight. I thought about putting the link in the chat so you guys can come up, for whoever would like to, if you want to discuss how you may have gotten over or discuss your experience. If you guys decide on me to do that, I will put it in the chat. But for now, I'm gonna just talk about what I want to first talk about and start with that, and then we'll talk more about some of the things around the topic tonight, and why I chose this topic tonight for shadow work session. We're going to pull some cards at the end and ask the ancestors to give us, as we normally do, a word, right? Around, what we can do to work with ourselves in reference of going through the status of grief, right? So today, family, I think it's that's 2 minutes after 6:30, right? So another minute, I'll let everybody trickle in. But I am going to discuss tonight shadow work for grief, okay? And so the reason why I will go ahead and talk about it while y'all come in, the reason why I decided to do or to touch back on, because I've done a shadow work video for grief before. It's out on the channel under shadow work sessions, but I wanted to bring it back up because a lot of people been having a lot of family members, a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of associates pass, right? Grand Rising, sis. Well, not Grand Rising, but good evening, right? Okay. But I wanted to talk about that because so many of us have been going through it, and we will continue to go through it, right? And so grief is a human experience while we're here on this earth, okay? So the best way for us to possibly discuss this and talk about it is for us to talk amongst each other. So maybe some of you guys will know how to deal with it outside of yourselves, right? And when you're by yourself and not outside of being with us, when you're by yourself and you have to go within, right? That's when you're going in the darkness and being by yourself. That's when you really gonna have to sit with the things that you've listened to, the things that has been discussed, whether on shadow work sessions or whether you read about it, how to deal with it, or whether you may have not. But the main thing of it is how the situation is gonna happen, right? But how are you gonna react to it, right? What is it that you can do to help you get through those periods in life, right? And so, family, please excuse my appearance tonight. I just threw on anything because I really didn't get dressed for work today. I just basically threw on a t-shirt and some jogging pants, right? And a hat because it was raining today when I ran out. But the shadow work for grief. Hey sis. So the shadow work for grief is what we're talking about tonight, okay? And I wanted to talk about this because of everyone going through their own motions and things like that in reference of losing people, as well as some people have lost people recently and some have lost people just as far back as 10 years ago. But it may have been somebody dear to your heart, you know what I'm saying? And it still affects you to this day. But how do you deal with that grief is the question, right? That you have to ask yourself. And some of you may have not even really thought about how to handle the situation, right? Or to handle grief, because we're all going to go through it multiple times over. Okay. Um, so what I wanted to talk to you guys about was the stages. So you guys know I like to break things down based off of the stages. Hey, T Rose, based off of the stages in a process of things, right, that we go through. In shadow work sessions, that's how I comprehend things, family. So, you know, with me trying to give you the knowledge that I have researched and what I have went through on a regular experience in my life, that is the best way that I can break things down to people to understand, right? And so that's the best way for me to learn. So I feel like if I can learn it, anybody can learn it, right? So yeah, it's always processes into things, just like you have a process of healing. Well, this is a part of it, right? And so I wanted to start with the by basically telling you guys, like, basically the first thing that I found, you know, when I was researching it and when I was looking through everything about grief, right? How to deal with grief when we go through grief, whether it's our, you know, heart chakra, that is definitely going to hit your heart chakra in reference of heartbreak, right? So you definitely, you know, you're going to feel it there, but you also feel it here, family, in your mental. Your mental is also about your thoughts. Your emotion is attached to your heart chakra, but you get mentally, some are confused, some are in fear, you know, it's different things. Some are in denial, some are angry, right? And so all of those emotions, and some come in sessions and some come all at once, right? So you just don't know how it's going to happen. Imagine, you know, it's just like an explosion sometimes to some people, right? In reference of people passing, or maybe like they may act like there's nothing wrong right then, but then later on they break down. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like some people hold all their emotions in. Some people let their emotions out. Some people, it takes time. You know what I'm saying? For some people to really work through those emotions. That's a part of you, like people say, embracing your emotions. And don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Yeah, there is phases, just like Tangela said. I think I'm finally out of the anger stage. Yes, but it's nothing for you to feel like there's anything wrong with that. We all go through phases. And some people don't realize they're going through those phases of emotions, right? And some people don't even realize that it's human, it's human in reference of those stages of grief, right? And some people, they just have something all the way out of ordinary that you would never think. I can't cover everything, but just think about how some people do react to grief, or how you may have reacted to grief, right? I know, like when my grandma passed, that was like my hardest one to go through with grief. Just because she basically was the one who always had me. She always raised me. You know what I'm saying? Outside of me going to stay with my mom and be with my mom sometimes, yeah. But for the most part, because I had a younger mom, you know what I'm saying? For the most part, I was with my grandmother. So when she passed, that was very hard. And that's who's she's the head of my altar. She's the head of who I tap into, because I know, you know what I'm saying? When you've dealt with somebody here in the physical, you have that extra strength to it, like how you were saying, you're in your anger state. But as I stated, you now have that spiritual connection to, your mother, when it's like your parent, when it's like a grandparent or a child, right? Those are like really strong connections to the spiritual realm. And although it may be hard to tap in with them, for you going through those phases, that's something that you need to do, because not only can, like Miss T always tell us, not only can they help us while we're here in the physical, but you're going to need that assistance, protection wise, discernment, intuition, just, you know, to heighten your senses, whatever it may be, they can help us on the spiritual realm of things. You know what I'm saying? And you have to feed to their energy as well. So, but you got to get to that point. You see what I'm saying? So I understand. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the shadow work for grief, which is going through those stages and those phases. Okay. So what I have here is they say you must face is when someone you love dies, or we are, or and it doesn't make any sense to us, because it doesn't. Most of the time, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes we go into shock, right? Because when somebody leaves the physical, you're like, oh my God, that's probably the first thing you say out your mouth. The first thing that sometimes people, it don't even register to people, but that's another form of defense too. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes mentally, your mind and your heart think about the process of that, right? And so it's like a hard situation for your mind to comprehend it, and then your heart chakra, right? Yeah, see, your mom definitely, she gonna keep helping you, and you keep giving to her, and that is gonna be a strong spiritual connection. Because I know mine has been heightened because I take care of my grandmother on my altar. She's like the main person on my altar that I make sure I take her coffee. I do everything for her, snacks. You know, not to say I don't do everything for my other altars and stuff, but she's the head. Okay. So yeah, so that's good, Tanchless, you know. And so the loss impacts everything, you know what I'm saying? And so the stages, I'm gonna talk about those stages, or the 5 stages that we go through. So the 5 stages we go through is denial and isolation. When you don't want to be around nobody, you in denial. Some people go into a denial where they feel like, no, this can't be happening, especially if it's like a process of them working up to death, like hospice, and telling people that they have a certain amount of time to live. You know what I'm saying? Those are all things that can create a denial for the person who's helping that person, or even still dealing with the process with that person. That can form an emotion of a denial. Now, also, let's say something sudden happens, right? Then you can start with that process of isolation where you don't want to be with nobody else. It's a lot of times that, like, if somebody passes, it's your husband or your boyfriend or your mom or your dad, you may want to be in isolation where you don't want to deal with no one else because you don't even know how to deal with your own emotions. See? So the first stage is that denial or isolation. The second stage is anger, right? Which my girl just said. She said she finally, and you'll know when you're coming out of these stages because you can tell the difference within yourself. Remember, the mind is the first universal law. All is mental. See what I'm saying? So that's the second stage. She's just at the second stage. See what I'm saying? Because you get angry. I know I did. I got angry, after isolating myself, after being a little bit in denial, like, dang, I don't think, you know what I'm saying? I even was like that with an ex. Like, I didn't really feel like, I thought they had it wrong. I was like, he ain't get killed or he ain't dead. You know what I'm saying? And then you get angry. Like, what in the world? Why did they have to leave? You know what I'm saying? So let me see what y'all saying. I recall at first, whenever I tried to connect her not being here, I could visually and mentally see the thoughts not connecting. See? That's a strong connection right there, sis. That's a strong connection. And sometimes you just don't want to feel anything. Exactly. That's the denial part, right? When you don't want to feel anything, but know that that situation is still there, right? But the denial is, and the pushback is, especially when you're by yourself and you've isolated yourself and all you can think about is that situation, right? But then some people actually put themselves out there and they try to go and have fun and do all the normal things to push that thought out of their mind because they don't want to think about it, like Melissa said. But sometimes that's more harm than good, because it's all you're going to wind up doing is either putting yourself in a situation you really shouldn't be in, or putting yourself in a situation where it really doesn't serve your highest good. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of people do that around grief too, right? And so that, and the anger is that second step we talking about. So that second stage, the second phase of anger, being angry with yourself because maybe I could have did something different. Maybe it was something that somebody else should have did. Then you start pointing fingers at yourself and others. Then you start thinking about all the stuff that, you just be angry for no reason. When really in actuality, it may have not even had anything to do with you. Because when it's your time, family. You see, you don't write the script. That's the part we have to realize. We don't write the script. And sometimes, because based off of just conversation, and not only with just my sister that's on here, but also like just having a conversation with some of my other friends that went through the death, and we talked through these phases too. It's like most of the time they already know that it's coming, right? And I've heard that in reference of like stars and celebrities too, where they know that their time is coming. You know what I'm saying? And then we're angry and we're upset, but that's that's one of the emotions that you're gonna go through. But you gotta be mindful of this too. Otherwise, you could do something to hurt yourself or hurt someone else. And that's what you don't want, right? Because it'll be easy for you to just pop off if somebody piss you off because you mad at something that you felt like you did, when really in actuality, that's not even the way it was going. But because you're going through the phases of grief, all that happens. I know like my cousins got mad. Like it was just like it's always like a lot of family animosity around deaths. That's like anger too. They fighting over who need this, who need that. That's just all that anger is grief, and they don't even realize it. They fighting over material things that really ain't gonna mean nothing to nobody at the end of the day, because just as that person has passed on without it, so will you, even though they feel like they need to have that material item to replace something that is a hole to their real emotion of not having that person here in the physical, not thinking that this person is right here with me. That's better than anything, the connection. But we don't think about it like that. See? So yeah, let's see here. What y'all saying? Oh, wait. I sat in my room for 2 days staring at the wall. See? That's isolation. That's the stage. That's the first stage you probably went through. Yes, I got stuck in isolation too long. Right. Now, some people can get stuck in isolation too long, and that's not healthy either. That's another form of being stuck in that first stage of grief, right? And so, you were stuck in, that was darkness. You were stuck in darkness, when in actuality, it's really phases, you know what I'm saying? But it was okay. It's okay not to be down on yourself, you know what I'm saying? Because there is really no time limit to how long you can grieve. There ain't no time on this. But the unhealthy part is when you may be doing something that's going to cause you harm, right? Where you can't take care of yourself because you don't want to go to work no more. You know what I'm saying? Things like that, But, it's hard to say, stop. You know what I'm saying? Who can put a time limit on your grief? Nobody. You know what I'm saying? I know some people still grieving. You know what I'm saying? For somebody who's died years ago, So, yeah, we say, you might have said, yeah, but let's say you stayed in it too long, but what's too long? You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's like, I may have stayed in isolation to make it unhealthy for me. Maybe that would sound better, but too long is like, I can't say that was wrong, sis. You know what I'm saying? I can't put a time limit on how long you were able to grieve, But what's the good thing about it now is you're mindful and you realize it too, And now you're able to help someone else to be able to realize that maybe they don't want to be in isolation too long, So that's why we do these. Okay, what you say, Tantalus? I like how I told you, I pulled cards on my mom and the karma card came out, meaning it's going to be, oh, I missed it. Oh, you were saying it's gonna be, yeah, I know. I see what you're saying, Tantalus. You don't even know you helped me get out of that. I thank you. See, we be helping people. Let me tell you something. it's all about these readings and connections that you have spiritually, even in your spiritual family, and connecting, you know, helping to somebody else, you know what I'm saying, and being there for somebody else. Sometimes family, you know, I just say something, or I help somebody, or I try to give to somebody, or I try to do out of the kindness of my heart, and I don't have to tell and say nothing to nobody, because that ain't nothing but just my heart chakra. Because you never know who it may help, family. You never know. You never know. You see how Melissa just said that? Intentions might have not even known it. See? It's all about being kind, because you never know. I started to stay busy until after the funeral to avoid the feelings, right? A lot of people do that. Staying busy is that denial, right? Remember how I was telling you how some people be like, oh no, I'm gonna just do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go and do this, I'm gonna try to do that. And then actuality, they covering up those feelings. And then what's gonna happen is one day they just gonna break out. You know what made me think, what made me think of that? Not to say that's what happened to you, but the first thing that came to mind, because I always used to watch a lot of Good Times. Everybody know I love Good Times. That's one of my favorite shows, the old school Good Times from the 70s. When James died, she just finally, she tried to cover it up. She was like going on and on. She did the funeral, talking, laughing and stuff. And the next thing you know, she was like, damn. And then, you know, that's like forever all over everywhere. But, you know, that really is a real scene. That's why I love Good Times. You know what I'm saying? Because they really enacted everything that was going through a Black family that was in the hood. You know what I'm saying? But I love that show. I got all of them on DVD, and I still watch them to this day. You ask anybody that know me. But anyways, that is one of the examples of, hey Lily, that's one of the main examples of not dealing with your emotions. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Yeah, you remember that episode, right, Tantrums? Yeah. But that's an example of holding back your emotions after her husband died. Yeah. And she wound up, she just couldn't take it no more. You know what I'm saying? But if she would have dealt with the emotion like they tried to get her, like her children. They was like, Ma, you ain't crying, you ain't doing nothing. But she held all that in because she was trying to be strong. And family, sometimes being strong, that ain't not through that process. To let it out. You know, that's a part of your shadow work. That's a part of you going within. That's a part of you going in the dark and letting it out. Go, like Intention said, go in the room and just cry. That's a part of shadow work. And it may not even, let me tell you something. Essence just said to me, it might not even be about grieving somebody that's gone. It might be just grieving a situation ending. You see what I'm saying? Not all the time shadow work for grief has to be about a death. It could maybe be about a loss of a job. It could be about a loss of a situationship. It could be a loss of a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you know, that you broke up with, heartbreak. So grief can come in multiple ways, not only about somebody dying, but things can hit you like a Mack truck, just like that. Okay. So it goes the same way because sometimes a physical death and a loss to something you felt was so important to you and that you love can feel just like someone leaving this earth. You see? Yeah. And you have to just rebuild. Like Sis said, you have to rebuild. That's right. Let me see what y'all said up here. Yeah, I had to have that Florida moment and let it out. Right. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm trying to tell the collective. I'm like, regardless of what happens, even if it's a death or it's not a death, some people get like that from losing a job. You might have been on your job for 25 years and they up and decide to close down tomorrow. You're gonna have some heartbreak there. It's gonna be some grief behind that loss, right? So take the same measures. You see what I'm saying? When we're talking about shadow work for grief, I'm not talking about just for a death. I'm starting with that because that's mainly what all of us have been dealing with. That's what I wanted to start with. But I also want you to understand that you can grieve things that you lose in life, right? With it being such a heartbreaking thing, you know, material items too, because we get so attached to these things, right, that bring convenience to our lives. When in actuality, the grief process can still be the same, where you go through the denial, you go through the isolation, you go through the anger, you see? But as Melissa was saying, let it out. I love that, sis. Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, nothing is the same in my life at the mom transition, right? And it won't be, you know, but that's another phase that we're going to talk about too. Okay, so after denial, isolation, anger, go through being mad and angry and upset. And then the next one is bargaining. Okay, so the bargaining phase is more or less like, I guess the bargaining phase is more or less like, you know, I can help someone else, or I want to just, you know, the way that I understood the bargaining phase, because to me, I didn't really like when they said bargaining as a stage, but that is in all of the stages that I've researched and stuff. But I think they're saying like bargaining, like you're like basically trying to exchange something out for that feeling, or for that person, or what that person has filled, the void. Or maybe like this goes into place with you know, like losing a job, right? And you decide to, well, instead of me dealing with losing this job, I'm just gonna put something in the place of that instead of really sitting with that emotion. That's kind of like bargaining, you know what I'm saying? Where you're replacing something, right? And so I feel like bargaining is not a good stage either, right? Which all of these are not really great stages, right? But I feel like if you have something that's going on, you want to be able to stand into that emotion, right? Especially after coming out of anger. At this point, it's like, don't overdo it. You know, some of us really need to just chill, you know, rest your mind, because you went through multiple different situations in these steps, you know, especially with the isolation and the denial and the anger. And now you want to replace something with something else based off of someone or something you've lost. When in actuality, it's about you. Remember, I always tell you guys, shadow work is about yourself. It's about you sitting with self. Maybe pick up something that's going to help you work through the emotions, like journaling, like maybe even talking to others, right? Or maybe even reading a book about something around the emotions that you're dealing with, or watching a video, or watching something on YouTube that's going to help you, something to expand your thoughts, right? To put you in a positive place, maybe even meditate, right? To put you in a state of raising your vibrations during that time, because that's what this is. When you're going through grief, you're in a low vibrating state, you see, because you're emotionally, you know, taxed at that time. Your mind is going through all these emotions, and then that can go into your body. Because remember, I posted for you guys, I want to say I posted it here. If I didn't, I'm gonna repost it tonight. But where you can get so emotional that it'll start making ailments in your body, certain parts of your body, your shoulders, your neck, your back, your stomach, right, your legs. You might start feeling it all over your body because you have that bound up emotions, right? All because you're trying to put that energy and that feeling somewhere and condense it, you know, instead of just letting it out, like they said in the, you know, in the chat. Let it out. Sit with yourself, cry it out. Get in a room by yourself, family. Isolate yourself? No. Get into solitude is different, right? Isolation means feeling like how she was saying, she went in and she felt trapped, or she was just looking at the wall. That's isolation, you know. But solitude is when you're in there meditating and you making things, you raising your vibration within the solitude, right? You making it best for your highest good to come out of those emotions, whether that's crying it out, screaming it out, writing it out, whatever you want to do, right? And so the next one is depression. So you will go through a stage of depression. Some of you go through some of these stages at the same time. Anger and depression, denial and depression, isolation and depression, right? Sometimes it comes together as one. Sometimes it's not separate, right? They break it out as 5 steps. But like I was saying, even that bargaining can go into the anger. Like, I'm angry, so I'm going to go do this and do this, So it could be a combination of these things that they're saying are the 5 stages. But they're just stating that in reference of these are the main feelings that majority of the people in this human experience goes through, which is pretty much, yeah. Right? So we definitely go through depression, okay? And the depression piece comes about because you're thinking to yourself, the main question that comes with depression of grief is, how can I deal with this loss? What am I going to do now? What is next? What do I have that is left here for me, right? Especially when it's a parent, you feel like a piece of you is gone, right? Yeah, isolation and anger, yeah. And so, a lot of us have these combinations, right? But depression also, that a piece of that, it could be all 3, isolation, anger, and depression. You know what I'm saying? You could have all of these. And then you get to that point where it's like, I realize, you know what I'm saying? I realize that I'm in this state. And some people know how to get out of it, family, and some people don't. You see how people wind up being in certain situations where depression can make people take their own lives, right? Depression is a real yes, we sending all hugs and condolences and peace and strength to us, right? I mean, to all of us, to Tangelus, to Melissa, to anyone here, anyone watching this video, anyone that's watching it afterwards, we sending nothing but healing energy your way. I used to do this on my videos, sending that healing Reiki you guys' way, right? And so also another thing I'm going to tell you guys about dealing with some of this grief as well when we get to the solutions, because you guys know I love to give y'all solutions, right? I had an episode this past weekend because nobody can do for me like her. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know what, family? The depression, the anger, the isolation, the denial, the emotions of feeling like, like you were saying, nobody can do like, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your children. If you lose those people, or even if you lose a job, you may feel like I ain't gonna be able to find another one like the one I got. All of that is going to be a continuous thing on what you're going to have to work through every time that comes up. That's why this shadow work for grief is something that's very important that we have to really touch on, because like they always say, you're going to be able to get through it, but that will never go away, right? And I'm just going to be honest, because I know it hasn't for me. Even when my grandmother, she passed in 2015, and I promise you, I still feel it. You see what I'm saying? But, we get through the process of these stages, right? But we don't get over it. You know what I'm saying? So, I want you to know that that's okay. I want you to know that that's okay. That is okay. That is okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, T Rose. But so that depression phase, the process is not fixed. This is not a fixed process. This is a process that is based off of an individual. You do what you need to do for you, right? Because I always tell you guys, shadow work is about you. It ain't about nobody else, family, right? And it's okay. It's okay if you go in and out of your, this process. It may come up later. I have my own times. I go to the altar and I cry. Grandma, I miss you. Granddaddy, I miss you. And, so all of those things are going to continuously come up every so often. That's okay. That's a part of the process, because like I said, it's not a fixed process. Yes. And you have to, that's when the things that I'm going to talk to you guys about utilizing as solutions. Like I talk to all my girlfriends, and we talk and we chit chat and we discuss these things too. You know, the last stage is acceptance, right? Because that is the main piece that is the hardest, is accepting it, right? And sometimes that's the only way to come through the depression, is to accept that it has happened, but it's happened in reference of this physical flesh, right? Because we know that we are really all eternal in reference of spirit. And so when you get that in your mind, that kind of shift things for you, right? Yes, we would love for them to be here in the physical so we can hug them, but we can hug them in the spiritual as well, right? And we would love for them to be here to cook us those meals and all the things that they used to do, right? But that's okay. You know, hopefully you took what they gave you when they were here. And if not, that's okay too. But do understand that in the spiritual, they still here with us, family. They're still here with us. And they're going to work it out for you, right? But you got to still give them that energy. See, that's the piece that a lot of people don't understand. They're like, Dad, you know, this person is gone. They feel like there's nothing left. But that's not true, you know? We have eternal light in reference of those souls that are still with us. And they see us and walk with us every day, help us every day. But you got to know that. And you got to be able to help them as well. Give them energy, right? Speak to them. Talk to them. They can hear you. Trust me, they can hear you. Okay? And so that's another solution of being able to accept that they're not here in this physical, but accept that they are here in the spiritual realm. Okay? And just as much as you love them here and they loved you here, it's the same way on the other side, family. That doesn't fade. But you got to know. That's why you need to burn your ancestor money. You need to have a sacred space for them. Like I did today. Clean my altar for my grandmother, put some new water over there. Honey, she got so much stuff. I got to get some stuff off of there because she got cookies and all kinds of stuff that she loved. But that's what I do, because I knew when she was here what she loved, you know? And if you don't know, ask some people, you know what I'm saying? Most of us know what our grandma or our mom and stuff, but let's say I still have another altar for my dad's wife. I have a friend's altar, you know what I'm saying? That's how much I'm dedicated to helping others in the spiritual realm, right? Because I know a lot of people don't, right? So then they're lost souls, okay? So please put together some space, right? I know you may not have as much space as maybe others, but that's okay too. It's no small, big, or large, you know, a sacred space to honor them. Burn some ancestor money, put them a cup of water out, put their picture up, talk to them, speak to them. They can hear you, okay? So that's one solution I'm giving you in reference under the acceptance stage, which is the last stage, okay? Each individual processes each stage, sometimes, like I told you, you know, different times, different forms of loss. Losing a child feels like, you know, a violation for a lot of people. Losing a child, losing a parent, losing, you know, it's hard to mourn someone that could have been negative towards you, but then they wind up passing. You know what I'm saying? You may have all these different emotions about how it was when they were here on earth. You may regret some things. It may have been an argument before they passed. You know, we have all these different things that come up about people who are no longer here, family. But what you have to understand is once they cross over, it's about you making that connection and making it right for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it was somebody who killed your family member or something, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, if it was like your mom and y'all had an argument, still honor her, give her some energy, right? Make that connection, because trust me, she probably still, unless she just demonic. You know what I'm saying? But only you'll know your life. You know what I'm saying? do that. So that's why I was saying it's multiple forms of death too, and losing, like I said, a job or friendship or something of that. And sudden death too is another form of loss, right? Sudden death versus, like I talked about, death that's impending, right? Where you're working up and this person is about to pass. That's another form of loss, right? So you have all these different ways, right? But it says grief is an inward journey, which it is. You know what I'm saying? That's something you have to deal with by yourself. And most people don't want to deal with it with no one else, actually. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of that isolation as well. Practicing talking and laughing with her more. Yes. Girl, because let me tell you something. And it don't even matter. I don't care who think I'm crazy or whatever. But honey, I be in here just having a full-blown conversation with my grandma and my granddaddy. Okay? My ex, my son's grandmother, my dad's wife. I got all of them up there. Bassett, I got her as the altar. I'll talk to her. Listen, whatever spirits you deal with, if you have been dealing with spirits for a while, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? And if you're working on your clairs like I am, you can hear them back. See, that's when that's a gift. But like Miss T said, only if you tapping in and you working on those gifts and you doing things for the greater good. That's why I do these things, to help others. I'm trying my best to help as many people as I possibly can, because I know my spiritual gifts and connections are getting strengthened just as much as I do that as well. And I tell you, family, you have to do that, So that's why now I can basically, my clairaudience is strengthening, right? I can hear them clear as day, family, just clear as day. And now the next thing is working on the scrying. So, I have my bowl of water in front of my altar right now. So I'm trying something different. Instead of doing the actual wall, I'm going to try the water scrying. Maybe you could do some things like that in reference of communication with your ancestors as well. Okay. So these are all the things that I'm doing. I'm just wanting you to know about it. Yeah. You talk to your mom every day. Good. You see what I'm saying? Yes. Like they are right here. Exactly. I do it just like they right here. You know what I'm saying? I asked her, Grandma, what you want today? You know what I'm saying? You want some coffee this morning, girl? Because every morning I come in my spiritual room. I put my bright window open unless it's cloudy. You know what I'm saying? But majority of the time, my room in here gets good sunlight because we can't light the altar up. I used to light my altar up, right? So now I open my windows and get that light in here. And then every morning I come in here just as much as I get up and go to my office to work. I come right in here and say good morning to them. Just as if you would pick up the phone and say good morning, right? Do that. They can hear you. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing, family, I wanted to tell you. So all these things are about you accepting the fact that they're gone in the physical, but still with you in the spiritual. Okay. So the ego is a part of yourself that believes that you have control over your life, but you really don't, right? You don't have control over life at all. We don't have control over anything that could happen. Okay. And that could, things could happen just straight up at the drop of a dime, but it's about being prepared. And sometimes not even being prepared, because how can you be prepared on something that happens out of the blue? You know what I'm saying? So really, in actuality, I feel like there's no preparing for it. I just feel like when you're more spiritual, you kind of understand that they're still going to be with you. Right. So it may not take you as long as it would someone else who doesn't know about somebody's life being eternal. Right. So that's the difference. It's still going to be hard. You're still going to go through the process. You're still not going to be prepared for that person to be leaving here. But it's going to be much easier for you, who's mindful of them still being here in spirit, than somebody else. I'm going to tell you that. Okay. Because I know that firsthand. Okay. So let's see what else. Okay. So the things that we can do, solutions, right? Because I like solutions to help someone through grief, right? Is to be kind. Be kind. Go take them some food. Donate to them. Ask them, is there anything that you can help with? You know what I'm saying? And let's spin it and not say in reference of, somebody else's solution of helping somebody else, but helping yourself. What can you do? Well, the first thing you can do is give yourself time, right? Give yourself time. There is, like I told Melissa, there is no time limit in reference of grieving. So whatever time you feel like you need, whatever you feel like you need to do, that's what you need to do, right? That's the main solution. First, you cope with the way you want to cope with it. Don't let nobody else tell you how to cope with your own grief, family. Whether that's you going through those emotions, we talked about the denial, the anger, the depression. That's all okay. I just gave you the 5 stages. Now you know it's normal. That's why I'm telling you guys this. That's the shadow work for the grief. So you understand that it's normal. It's okay. It's okay. Right? But we have to understand that being that we're mindful of these things happening, we can't stay in all of them for too long to make yourself without, being able to take care of yourself, or, it's a time to you being able to put that self-care back in you, right? So that's the best way to put it, you still have to do self-care. You still should be doing your shadow work, which is healing, right? So you got to heal through the whole grief process, right? After you go through those emotions, now it's time for you to heal, right? And when I say heal, that doesn't mean that feeling of that loss is going to leave, family. That's not what I'm saying, because that's not even reality for me. But what I will say is the healing is the process of you being mindful that this person is still here for you in the spiritual, versus them, you not having no connection. See, when you create that spiritual connection with them on the spiritual realm, it makes it easier for you, because like we were saying, you still get to talk to them. And if you get real, into your gifts, you can hear them. You'll know their energy, You'll be able to have their protection. As I was saying on our live the other day, I know it wasn't nothing but my ancestors, my grandma and them, that came and helped me in the middle of nowhere at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was the only person out there, and I locked my luggage in the back of my rental car, and I had to get on a flight in less than 30 minutes. And family, when I tell you, the car was locked. All the doors, the trunk, the key was in the car. It was in the, I had dropped the key. Family. I got my book bag. I'm going to tell this story on here, because I'm telling y'all so y'all understand how spirit works, okay? This right here. I mean, I already knew the ancestors was real before this, but this right here put a seal on it. Nobody can tell me anything about my ancestors since then, and they've been taking me through the roof since then too. But I got out, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was taking a rental car back to catch a flight to come home from Arkansas, because I was working on the road like I'm normally doing. And honey, I had my book bag, which is the book bag I normally carry my laptop, and everything in and stuff. And I have a couple of the items like my, my charger and stuff like that. Well, I had my luggage in the trunk, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, well, I'll pop the trunk when I get to the airport, drop the key, and keep pushing, right? It was 4 o'clock in the morning, family. I'm about halfway asleep. So I grabbed my book bag, jumped out the car, parked the car at the drop-off zone. Family, it was after hours. Won't nobody out there. I'm in Arkansas. It's like a small airport too, family. So I jumps out the car, dropped the key in the drop box, and realized I ain't have my luggage. The luggage was in the trunk, family. At 6, I had to catch my flight in like 30, 45 minutes, family. I was about to cry. First thing I said, ancestors, I gotta get my luggage and get home. I'm ready to get home, ancestors. Next thing I knew, I looked over to the side where the rental car place was, and there was this like little thing, like a little long thing, and I just put it down in there and pulled into the lock box where I put my key. I just pulled it in there, and my key came up, and I just popped the trunk, family, and I got my luggage and was out. And I didn't have a clue how I was gonna get my luggage out of there. And I still to this day say a woman, because the way it was, family, it seemed like that was, but it was like there was no other way. You know what I'm saying? It was my ancestors that made it happen. So I'm just telling you, make that connection, okay? Solutions, right? Being kind, spending some time, right? Spending some time with people, right? Spend some time with others. Really, really sit with people, talk with people, let people express their feelings. You express yours if you're going through the situation. And really talk about how you were in acceptance of that situation, right? Or how you have let some things go. Maybe you were angry, so maybe you let some things go. You need to talk that out. Maybe you need to discuss about what put you into depression or how you feel now, right? So all these things is basically what you need to discuss, or that's another form of solution. Don't hold things in, right? Don't hold things in. The other thing is meditation. The solution is meditation, family, right? Let's see what you're saying. I missed a lot of comments here. Hold on, family. My mom told me through a reader, in the midst of my depression, my sunshine needs sunshine, right? Ooh, I love that. I promise you, I went outside and saw her in the clouds, and I knew it would be okay. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? I love that. My sunshine needs sunshine. Yes. I love that, Vanessa. That is amazing. Okay. That ain't nothing but ancestors right there. That was her. You see how she working through? Yeah. Want that wonderful, sis? Yes, they are looking out for their child. You know it. That's what I be trying to say, y'all. It just because they're going in the physical don't mean, because I know my grandma looking out for me. You know what I'm saying? And I will continue to look out for her and my granddaddy and all my aunts, and I got dolls and everything over there for them. So just do what's best in reference of what's going to make you feel good, family. Okay? What's going to bring you sunshine. You see how Melissa was saying that brought her sunshine. You see? For her to, and sometimes you got to go through that. Sometimes you got to get therapy too. May not even be just a spiritualist. Sometimes you really do got to have therapy, to sit down and have somebody to maybe help you think of things outside of the box or outside of the way you may be thinking, or maybe your depression has gotten too rough, right? We're not against therapy, right? But the main thing you got to remember is self-care. And the main thing you got to remember is that they would want you to be happy as well. They would want you to be all negative and mad and angry and depressed. They would want you to be happy, just as they would want you to be happy when they're here. Okay? So meditation can help with that. Journaling can help with that, right? Writing down your emotions. Write a letter to that loved one and let them know how much you miss them and put it on their altar. Okay? Do those things. Release those emotions. Another way, if you feel like you're just tired of crying, write it down. It's the best form of release, family. Okay? And maybe just sit with yourself, family, and just really think. Sit with yourself and really think. Yeah, do these type things. I took a picture and everyone saw what I saw. See? So these are the things, family. These are the things. I love that. I absolutely love that. So so shadow work definitely is a part of us going through those phases, family. And sometimes we don't even know we're going through the shadow works, stages. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We just feel like we just going through our emotions. You know what I'm saying? When really in actuality, the isolation is a part of shadow work. Because when you isolate yourself or put yourself in solitude, that is shadow work, because you're going with it. And going through grief is definitely a stage of darkness. That's a stage of darkness. It truly is, you know? And so you gotta just deal with your emotions through this process, family. That's the main thing. So I gave you the stages. I gave you multiple ways of dealing with the process. The main thing is prayer as well. Pray to the Most High to allow you to go through the stages, to allow you to be able to have the strength and to allow yourself to receive guidance. Okay? That's one of the main solutions is prayer. Prayer and meditation, right? Go in meditation, sit with yourself, because that's the main thing, family. If you can't do that, you're going to have a hard time getting through life. See? And I always tell you guys, doesn't mean you got to be on the floor with your legs crossed in half. It doesn't mean that. It means you sitting with yourself. It means you could be sitting at your desk and you just being quiet and calm and you just thinking. You know what I'm saying? That's a form of meditation, because meditation is about you being able to take everything out your mind, wipe those thoughts out your mind, and just sit with yourself. And sometimes meditation can also be with you actually sitting there and thinking some things through. Don't allow no one to tell you exactly how to meditate, family. I also suggest that you use different forms of divination. That can also help you. Like how Tangela was saying, she uses cards in reference of talking with her or speaking to her mom and so forth. I do it too. I use my ancestor cards and talk to my grandparents and sit in front of the altar and use my cards. Doesn't have to be any cards that you created. It could be any cards. I got cards that are and I had them on my website, but we sold out because people loved them. But they were called like Talking with Heaven or something like that. And I pulled those cards. I had to ask them to speak through them cards. And honey, they be speaking through them cards. Get in front of my altar. That's another form of talking to your ancestors, right? And family. Let's say you're not grieving about somebody that's passed. Let's say you're grieving about some loss, like a breakup, a heartbreak. The best way to get through those type things, family, for me, I know in my past is solitude, right? So you could think through what it is that you really want in your life. How is this going to affect your life? Also, another form of relief for me in that type of situation was to meditate, listen to some positive, uplifting music, as well as frequency music. Excuse me, y'all, just ate. Or journaling, right? I know people always say journaling, but family, I live by journaling. I love to write down because they kind of got us away from writing, family. Everything you want to put in your phone, right? I get tired of that. You know what I'm saying? Because what if you don't have your phone? You know what I'm saying? You got to have something on paper. So get back to writing, family. Go to the dollar store. Dollar store got pencils, pens. Go get you some pencils and some pens and some writing paper. They got a little stationery section now in the Dollar Tree, okay? And get you something to write with. It's just write yourself a letter. Write your ancestors a letter. Write that person a letter. Write that boss a letter that let you go. You know what I'm saying? Get that stuff out, family, because it can affect you. Trust me. All right? And so let's pull a card and ask ancestors, what's the main message that the ancestors want us to know around grief before we leave? Okay? We're using our same shadow work deck that I've been using, which is the Psychic Tarot, to pull a card in reference of what we need to do. What can ancestors come in now? What is it that you want us to know and do, or how to deal with grief, right? How to deal with grief, ancestors, in reference of our shadow work. What can we take away from this session of what's the best thing for us to do to deal with grief in reference of shadow work, ancestors? Go through the cards, please. Answers just said to me, realize that I'm still here. Realize that I'm still here. My TV cut off. Realize I'm still here. So it went to a different commercial. What I was playing went off. Realize I'm still here. Okay, that makes sense. We know you still here with us. That's basically what they're trying to say. They still here with us. Ooh, I had a card fly on the floor. Yes, that's the message. Moving on. As sister said, moving on, taking the next step. You see? This is like getting the Six of Swords. Obstacles and challenges in reference to moving on. Yeah. So this is like you have to move on. You have to move. You have to get yourself together and realize that I'm still here, and it's time for you to move on. That's what ancestors said to me. I'm still here. And so the moving on card is about you're about to embark in a much needed journey to leave the past behind. This card lets you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it signifies that the time has arrived in which a difficult cycle in your life is coming to an end. So maybe this is ancestors letting us know that the cycle or the situation that you've been going through are coming to an end, or either will come to an end or will pass, right? And so ancestors is like you have to take the first step forward, right? You have to move on. You have to know that they're still here. That's why that was channeled to me. I'm still here because they are. You know, just in the spiritual. Got chills. And it says in a traditional tarot, this card implies traveling or going forward. Ancestors is telling us involving crossing waters or even moving abroad. Calmer waters are ahead, and with all lessons you've learned from past experiences, you're approaching this period having grown, and you're so much stronger for it. The healing process is underway, and now you can set your goals, your desires, and your objectives to secure a more positive and successful future because your mind is more settled and less worried. They said synchronistic events will bring the right conditions and introduce people into your life for your highest good. So the ancestors want us to know that this is definitely about us moving towards, moving forward and moving towards the light, coming out of the darkness. That's right, Melissa, coming out of the darkness and move forward, right? Mm-hmm. Do you see the light coming out the darkness? Yes, that's right. Coming out the darkness into the light. That's about moving on. That's what the ancestors want us to do. And sixes is about, relationships. So it's the six. The Six of Swords is also about moving to calmer waters, like it said, moving forward, not like how I told you guys, not sitting in that depression, not sitting in the anger because they want you to be happy. They want you to move to calmer waters. They want you to move out of darkness and move into the light, you see? And so that's what the ancestors want us to know, family. It's time for those that may be going through those steps or that process in the shadow and grief is to move forward, okay? Some of us have been sitting in what we may not even understand is really not healthy, right? So that's the message they gave to us in reference of grief. It's about moving on, and then that channeled. What did I say? That they said? I don't know. I've been just saying what they say. I'm still here. I think that's what they said. Which they're saying they're still here. So that, family, is our shadow work sessions tonight about going through the phases of grief, okay? And hopefully these gave you a little understanding about your feelings and what you went through or what you could be going through or what you may go through in the future. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here. That's what they said. That's what they channeled. And so, You just have to understand that and now it's time for you to understand it, like how Tension was saying she was going through the anger phase. That's okay. If there's no time on your phases. But now you understand that it is phases of grief. And it is something that you're going to have to go through to get towards the healing, and some of those things can be together. But it's about you going through it in your own timing. Okay? So be kind to yourself, love on yourself, do your self-care, right? And really, really understand that your ancestors is telling you with that message I just channeled, I'm still with you. I'm still here. I may not be here in the physical, but I'm here in the spiritual. And I can see and hear you. All right? So I love you through the darkness, family. You're welcome, sis. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes. What's the question? Yes, what's the question, love? Yes, I will stay for a question. No problem. Yeah. Go ahead and ask it. But yes, family, we definitely have to tap in with them. Definitely. Okay. If you haven't already. Like I said, I definitely have tapped in with my spiritual team. And they take care of me. They take care of me. They really do. Even when I don't even ask, they take care of me. And sometimes, family, they will shock you and they will show you that they still are here. You know what I'm saying? So not only did I channel that, but that's real. That's also a message for me, right? Yeah, I'm still here. What does the ancestor money do for the ancestors? It gives them energy. The ancestor money, if you see, I did a video a long time ago. I was still living in my old house, where I burned ancestor money, right? And so ancestor money is basically to give them energy through the spiritual realm, right? From the physical to the spiritual realm, right? So it's basically like energetic energy, that fire energy. And most of the time, you can see it on the money, like turning certain colors, like from blue to green, sometimes green to like blue. That's the energy, right, that they feel. And the ancestor money is definitely it's about setting your intentions in a lot of ways, right? Energetically, it's about giving them energy, but it's also about you setting intent in reference of giving them something back. Right? Just like we set out the food, that's with intentions of giving something to them. Just like we put out the water, that's a part of us giving them that energy. They, spirits love water, right? So it's about that. It's like, it's kind of like placing the food out, right? It's the same thing I was saying, placing the food out, whether that's snacks, it's about feeding that energy, because remember, we're all energy, right? So when you think about it, think about the elements, right? We have the air, we have the fire, we have the water, right? We have the earth, and we also have ether, which is them, spirit, right? So it's actually 5, right? But we have to feed that to them, okay? A lot of times they'll say, get a flower, right? That's earth, right? And so you could do these things too. Get a flower. I have a flower that's named after my grandma that's downstairs. And honey, she growing. Okay. And I also keep Medusa up here in my spiritual room. But that's my other flower. And you can, do those type of things to honor them. Right. You could do the rum. Yeah, liquor. Honey, my grandma used to love what was the name of her drink? It just slipped my mind, grandma. It's the gin, girl. I know what you like. I got some downstairs. It's the something Collins. Collins. She used to put the beer gin in it. I got some beer gin or something like that, ginger beer or something like that down there. And she put sparkling soda, okay, and one of them little cherries. They used to make them like little like martini style or whatever. Anyway, I don't made it. I asked my mama how to make it, and she told me what to go get. But my grandmother loved it, honey. She tore it down. Okay, I put it on her altar. So little things, even for like my ex, I have him on the altar over there, and he used to love Patron. I got Patron over there. He used to love Newports. I got Newports over there. Like, give them that energy, just like as if they were still here. You know what I'm saying? They know. Trust me. And it's going to get gone because his liquor be gone fast. Like when he was here. Okay? Yeah, I will get some to strengthen my innocence. Please do. Please do. If you don't do nothing else, honor them. Okay? Yeah, you can honor them by speaking to them and everything like that. But they like stuff too, right? I got my mama milkshake for her birthday. There you go. You see what I'm saying? Get mama something. Mama was probably happy as hell. Okay? Put that milkshake up there, dog, and put some water up there so she can have some water after her milkshake. And boom. Okay? Let that sit up there. If you want to let it sit for 24 hours, however. I normally do like stuff like that, food and stuff. I start letting maybe 24 and 48 hours take it off because food and stuff start to smell. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't eat nothing off your altar. I throw it out, and sometimes with the fruit, I'll go and put it at a tree. That's also another offering to Earth, right? Because then there's probably gonna be like an animal or something like that gets that, right? So you could do some things like that if you don't want to just throw all, fruit away or cookies or something like that. I'll put that outside, But and sometimes I just throw it away. But make sure you don't eat anything off your altar, okay? But that food start looking right. It sure do. Yes, that food be looking like frozen. And then sometimes, like today, all the glasses was halfway empty of water. Okay. And I haven't touched the water. I haven't done anything. And I have multiple glasses of water on my altars. Even my Cali altar, I put red wine on my Cali altar because she loves red wine. Honey, that red wine almost gone. Okay. So please honor your ancestors. Like Tasha said, they definitely love drinks. Yes, they do. That's why they call it spirits, right? Just like Miss T was talking about the alcohol. She was saying that. Yeah, but they love spirits, honey. Put some alcohol out there, whatever your mom's favorite drink was. You know what I'm saying? Or, with me, like I said, my grandma's favorite drink. My granddaddy didn't drink. He was a bishop. He was in the church and stuff. So I didn't put anything out for him. But my dad's wife, she loved wine. I put wine over there for her. And my ex, I put him some Patron. He loves to rock. Stuff like that. So yeah. All right. So family, I'm glad you asked that, and make sure you get your ancestor money and burn some. I burn some on the moon cycles. So most of the time I burn them on the moon cycles, and sometimes I just burn them just for them, just in, because like the other day I just burned some for them. It wasn't a moon cycle, but I write their name on it and I burn it, and I speak to them and I tell them this is for your energy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I hope this has helped. Yeah. Okay, Melissa, what you got, girl? We're going to be here all night fooling with you. What's up? Yes, Tantalus, girl. Listen, I just try to do as much as I possibly can for y'all, but answer your questions and try to, come to you guys and just help you, because we are all one spiritual family here, So we gotta help each other, man. We got to. I have an altar for my sister, my mother, and my grandmother. I have one glass of water. Should I have 3? No, you can have one. You don't have to have 3. I have one for my grandmother and grandfather and my aunts and uncles altar. I have one for a whole nother altar. So see, you doing it right, like how I got mine. So you doing it right. You doing it right. You don't have to have 3 glasses. You could just have one. You know what I'm saying? And just put water in that glass. If you want to have 3, you can, But I don't have separate glasses for my granddaddy and my grandma. And then I have my aunts on that same altar that were their kids. You know what I'm saying? I just do one glass for them. And then I have a whole separate altar from that. Like I got a bunch of altars in here. So don't mind me, because you know, I got a bunch of altars. Like I got my Egyptian altar, I got my friend's altar. So I got so many different altars in here. That's why I have so many different glasses. So don't mind me. I have a Risha altar. I have a money altar. You know what I'm saying? So it's multiple offers going on in here, girl. That's why I said all the different glasses that I have, but I have them separated. You see what I'm saying? And sooner or later, I wind up condensing it and not have all these altars. But I love my altars for right now, you know. So probably when I move into a different space, I might have to condense. I don't know. But anyways, I hope. Did you have any other questions, love? My grandma don't like to share her liquor there. Right. So you put her liquor over to the side over there by her. And then the rest of them, hopefully they won't bother her liquor. Let her work that out in the spiritual realm. Right. You welcome, love. You welcome. Okay, you was just checking. Yes, you really enjoyed it. I enjoyed y'all tonight too, sis. I enjoyed y'all tonight. That is so funny about grandma. Said grandma don't like to share her liquor, honey. I know that's right. Mine probably don't either, but my granddaddy on there, he don't drink unless my aunts get to it. Now they do. Okay. But y'all have to handle that on y'all own over there, okay? I might go put her a drink on there tonight. All right, y'all. I'm getting ready to log off. We've been on here an hour and 15 minutes in reference of the shadow work for the Greed family. I hope this gave you some enlightenment. Like I said, through the darkness to the light, family. I love you guys. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. And I will see you guys on the channel tomorrow for Thursday Night Insight. I'll talk to you guys then. Bye-bye.